Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 2:33 p.m. on the 5th of March 2025, and Tropical Cyclone Alfred is supposed to cross our coast here in Queensland, somewhere between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, they now tell us. Anything they say can truly be believed, but we'll go with that. In the early hours of Friday morning, I think was the latest update. But they don't actually know for sure, do they? So keep manifesting safety for everyone across the eastern coast of Australia. Push that angry, juicy motherfucker back out to sea where it can just flurry itself out like a tornado in a teacup. Oh. Well, let's pray that it does just that, but if it's very, very bad, we'll have to survive that too, people of Earth. Just one more thing. One more thing. One of my little mummy network, one of my little mothers. I have most beautiful people in my life who really do watch over me and worry over me, which is so heartfelt and so sweet. And anyway, one of my little nurturing mummy figures, who's younger than me and got little children of her own, my friend Margot, who lives down the road, said the shops have been raided of everything, but she's kindly going to share some of her toilet paper with me, which is very kind because, you know, I probably could survive without it, but I gratefully accept the help she's giving me. I said to her, I can't come out and actually take it from your hands or talk to you because I've got this lurgy. I don't think it's COVID, but I don't want to make her and her little ones and her husband sick. We've got to hunker down through a fucking cyclone. I tell you what, when things go wrong, in my life, they go wrong in orders of magnitude. It's always some, nothing in the shops, or I'm sick at the time. There's always some, added drama. I'm a bit sick of that. Why can't things just be, ordinary? Just ordinary for once. But when you're extraordinary, there is no ordinary. Just have to learn to live with that. So Tales of the Early World Book 2 is illustrated by Andrew Davidson. If he wasn't an arsehole like my former lover, David Davidson, I'm sure he wasn't. I'm sure there's good, kind, noble, decent Davidsons out in the world, but I'm a bit damaged by the Davidian reptilian line since my father's name was David and was a monster, and then I drew in that monster back in 1998, and there's been a few monsters since too, but eventually everything runs its course. I'm surrounded by good, kind, loving, supportive, caring people now in my life, and just had a lovely long chat to Jared, who was also worrying about me, and we're all worried as a collective because the media and the government have beefed the storm up to the point where everyone's pretty much ready to bend over and kiss our asses goodbye. And I don't know. I have a feeling that it may affect some areas quite badly, let's be realistic, but it may not be as bad as was predicted. Anyway, we shall keep manifesting that outcome, that it just blows out, pushes itself back out to sea, because if enough people think positive and put in enough prayers and manifestations with the author of life, the creator of nature itself, Miracles can and do happen, so all is not yet lost, people of Queensland and New South Wales. In the meantime, while I'm waiting to get slammed by a cyclone along with everyone else, I thought I'd keep reading these quite lovely stories to you. The stories and tales of the early world are particularly suitable for children of 8 plus. And I'm still making them not for children because of my weird little segues where I go off and adult only type content talking about experiences of my life, and I don't want to expose young children to that. But some of these stories have been quite suitable for children. I could have made them, available to children to listen to. It's something to think about later on. If I can get through a video without any sarcasm or weird spiritual segues or paranoia, then I could direct these stories to children. I think there's one in recent days that I got through without any Mama T, the zombie queen of her own destiny oddness. So I could make that one suitable for children, but why? I do these actually for my adult audience, to inspire us and to honour our inner child. But if you think anything's suitable for your kids to watch, be my guest. Share it with your little ones. We all need comfort. Excuse me, I'm eating chippies and already pulling on me. We all need comfort and magic and childlike awe and delight in these very scary times and dark times, and you never know what little soul needs to hear it. Words of wisdom and comfort and guidance and strength and encouragement and shining by example sometimes. I don't always feel all that strong and powerful and comfortable myself, so I self-soothe by reading stories on YouTube. And it's surprising, the little things that just like a little pressure cooker just get gently eased out like steam. Just letting, the gods, the angels, the ancestors that love me and the people that love me, that Mama T's alive in this brain, body, mind, spirit, soul, and she's existing and she's riding through life the same way we all are, being the best version of herself, doing the best she can in her own rather precarious circumstances and holding her line. And sometimes when I have flights of paranoia, or I think they're paranoia, I very quickly find out that they weren't quite so paranoid after all, and the proof is always in the pudding, my darlings. But good people, good souls who know me know I harm no one, not ever, unless there's been harm done to me first. So we'll begin. Because love is the law and love underworld. You can love people that aren't particularly lovable. I've done that for fucking eons, to my detriment. So when Mama T walks away, it's the best decision for me, for everyone else. But I don't do that lightly. I like to see my little spiritual missions through, and I like to be there for the ones I care about. So, noblesse oblige, darlings. Noblesse oblige. So there's 10 stories in this book too. How many books are there? 3 books. So this shall keep Mama T busy for quite some weeks, I would think. And let us begin. Oh, I must remember I am actually cooking up some strudel in the oven. Just got to keep an eye on the timer. Ah yes, I've got time. Sometimes Siri forgets, it doesn't work, and I burn things, which is annoying. But no, we're on time. So if you hear it go beep, 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 and watch me freak out, it's because I'm trying to be a domestic goddess in the midst of a crisis. What else can I do with my time? How Sparrow Saved the Birds. Of all the birds, Sparrow was one of the first to be invented. Plain little Sparrow. He lived with his wife in a hole in a tree, and sometimes sat in his doorway singing his plain little song, which isn't really a song at all. I've heard sparrows sing, and it's kind of a song. Oh, the English. They're just so judgmental and critical, aren't they? I'm quite happy if sparrows sing to me. But I love all birds, so maybe it's my openness. Sparrow and his wife had no children. It's God's fault, cried his wife. Go to God and tell him so. Tell him to do something about it. And she burst into tears. Surely he'll help us. Oh dear, blessed be. Instead, Sparrow went to the toad. The toad was already making a name for herself as a witch. From her, he bought a powerful spell. When this spell fails to bring twins, said the toad, it brings triplets. Then she blinked her great, brilliant, golden eyes and added, octuplets have been known. But it didn't work. Sparrow's wife wept a lot in her dark hole in the tree. Go to God, she sobbed. Simply go to God. That's all there is to it. Why not? Go and ask him for help. Sparrow glared at his wife, frowning under his black thinking cap. He was actually quite a fierce-looking little bird. His wife was right. Why not go to the top? So he filled his knapsack with seeds, food for a very long journey, and he set off. God was still making birds, since making Sparrow. He'd enlarged his designs a good deal and brought in some new ideas. He really did. He was very creative when it came to birds, more than with humans, I think. He built a new workshop too, on stilts, on top of a hill, so the new birds would get a good take-off. Reminds me of Baba Yaga's little hut, which spins around on chicken feet. But at last, Sparrow was climbing the rickety ladder to the workshop. As he got to the top rung and peered in through the open door, a great flurry of white cloud came out. He glimpsed a small, round, black eye. Then he was knocked backwards. He fell 5 rungs and clung there, while the giant form of a white swan laboured out into the air with its weird, slow wing beats, each wing beat giving the yelp of a hound. Sparrow stared at the whiteness, the slowness, the long neck, and probably he thought, it has a beautiful song too. I don't think I've ever heard a swan song. That's why they would say, it's your swan songs, the last thing you ever hear. They must sing though, all birds sing. I just haven't heard one. Just saying. On that subject, my moronic ex-husband, who wasn't terribly bright. He can't have been terribly bright because he married me and decided he would try to destroy me, and didn't work out so well for him in the end, did it? Didn't work out so well for either of us, to be fair, but anyway, we won't go into that. But that moron, back in when we had our business between 1990 and 95, we were, it was a good business and we were doing, reasonably well. So he bought a gold card, which was with this gold card from the Sheraton Mirage out at the Marina Mirage on the Gold Coast. You could go and eat a smorgasbord for, you pay full price, but it was half price for the other person. I think it worked out that way. So it worked out that 2 people could eat for the price of 1, is what I'm trying to say. So it was a very good deal. And it was at that time in the 90s, had won an award as the best seafood smorgasbord in the Southern Hemisphere. It was la crème de la crème, the penultimate of elegance and class and the best food as well. Even the toilets had gold-plated taps in them. Oh, I used to love to go there. The first time I took my husband there, it was for an afternoon tea, which was basically all I could afford at that time. This was before we got the gold card. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, we went there with my very elitist, very narcissistic, very spoiled sister, who invited us to come and have this afternoon tea. And my then husband acted very oddly. He said, I'm not good enough to be in this hotel. I'm not good enough. I'm mixing with very, very wealthy people. And he kept saying over and over, I'm not good enough. My sister looked at him. I looked at him a little bit in shock too. Who says you're not good enough, Michael, I said. Ultimately, if you behave like a gentleman and dress appropriately and don't act like a fucking bore, your money's as good as anyone else's. Just walk in like you own the place. Have good manners and grace. I'm sure you'll be made welcome and will be served, and no one would ever dare tell you or I that we're not good enough. Not like that filthy fucking Treasury Casino. When was it? 5th of August 2023? Dad told me I wasn't good enough after 12 years of dancing there regularly every weekend, almost without fail. Now they've gone broke. It's not good to treat people like trash when they've been loyal, supportive customers for 12 fucking years. But anyway, back to the subject. So, I mean, you have to laugh. Calm as a bitch. So my then husband tells me, no, I can't be seen here, but I'm not good enough. I said, look, put on a nice shirt and your nice sports jacket and let's just go. We're going and that's it. No one's going to tell me I'm not good enough. And I have a lot of issues, a lot of trauma issues, a lot of self-esteem issues I acquired over time. But my money is as good as the next person's. So we walked into that Sheraton Mirage Hotel. And people looked at us. How may we help you, madam? And said, oh, we've come for the high tea. Oh yes, come through. Because they, it's hospitality. They treat you like you're a queen. Because your money is good enough. Trust me on that. So we sat there and my narcissist sister held court, acted like the queen she aspires to be, which was fine. And I sat there. My mother was with us, my then husband, and we had a lovely time. I must have had the children with us too, having our high tea. Then he got excited because he saw there was a regular smorgasbord, and being a chef, we asked the staff about the smorgasbords. And they said, oh yes, it's all seafood. I hate seafood. I hate the smell of shellfish. I hate the cracking of their little legs. I hate the spitting of their juices. I hate watching people suck oysters. It all just makes me heave. But my former half-sister loved shellfish. That's what she did have in common with my ex-husband. They loved seafood, So we decided that since Michael had got over his anxiety about not being good enough and feeling, just an ordinary peasant plebeian, that we would go for the smorgasbords. Well, the smorgasbords were so wonderful. Of course, I didn't eat any of the seafood or shellfish, but I would have the roast turkeys or ducks or lamb or beef, and they always had several roasts, and I would have all the vegetables and salads and the desserts, and Michael would sit there cracking lobster legs and spitting prawn juice in my face, which I used to absolutely detest. But apart from that ignominy, the food was excellent. The other thing that came along with that experience was they had 2 white swans that used to go up this artificial little creek all around the restaurant. And they would just swim up and down wherever they felt like on any given day. And so it would be quite delightful. You'd be sitting there eating this fabulous fare and not quite enjoying the company I was keeping, because that man really was a dolt and unpleasant, and I didn't particularly like him. My marriage was already starting to slowly unravel at that point in time, although I was in denial about it and fighting hard to stay in there for the sake of my children. So I wasn't enjoying the company or the spitting prawn juice or oysters flicked at me, because I really was a pig. But anyway, I would enjoy looking at the swans, and my little girls would love looking at the swans, and it was all very lovely. So next thing I know, we had this gold card, which she'd somehow found out about. So we were going there fairly regularly, at least once a fortnight, sometimes once a month, but on average once a fortnight. And he would be standing in our shop, my Chicken Express rotisserie chicken shop, and he'd be booking our table for the Sheraton Mirage. And it would be quite comical listening to him. He had gone from being a man who did not want to be seen there because he didn't think he was good enough. I'll be back in one moment. Here's to not burning the strudel. So he went from, yes, being this person that was too embarrassed to be seen in a very fabulous haute couture hotel to ringing them up and booking a table for our smorgasbord. And I would hear him say, "And yes, we'll be there on Sunday, and can you please make sure the swans are there? I want to be able to see the swans." And they would be like, "Oh, we'll do it the very best we can, sir." Probably try not to laugh, you know. You put the phone down, I go, What are you doing? You can't control the movement of birds or where they go." Yeah, but I like eating and looking at the swans. I mean, in a way, let's be fair. Let's be nice. It was kind of sweet that he wanted to sit and engorge himself while admiring the swans. It's very childlike and kind of sweet. And he says, "Oh, and I want the kids to see the swans too." And I was like, "But Michael, swans are free birds. They swim wherever they feel like. You can't make them be outside the particular seat and window where we happen to be dining." Yes, I'll make them. I've told the staff I want the swans." This is when I realised I was married to some kind of idiot. Just looked at him. Okay, that's nice. But anyway, I don't know why. Oh yeah, swan song. Never heard them sing though. But they were lovely swans and it was pleasurable. But talk about take a man and give him an inch and he takes the whole mile. Or did he turn into a monster? It was like demanding that an haute couture hotel that had won awards was just for his own pleasure alone going to make sure that the swans swam around in his immediate vicinity. Quite bizarre. And Titolitis gone completely mad. Right. He climbed back to the top. But again, as he lifted his head to peer into the workshop, another swan came hurtling out. This time he ducked, then watched as the two swans together, side by side, circled the tower on their yelping wings. He watched until they turned and flew out over the deep green valleys towards the blue curve of the world's edge. What flyers! And where were they going? What adventure! He suddenly remembered where he was, bracing himself. Bracing himself, he stepped into the workshop where God was bent over his workbench. "Hello, God," called Sparrow, and stood. God went on working. He was concentrating deeply on a very tricky job. Never ever disturb an artist when they're concentrating deeply on a very tricky job. I found that when I was learning soldering. Oh, the rages I had at the interruptions. I became quite entitled and narcissistic, but it's because I was trying so hard to gain mastery and learn that any interruption would just send me right back and to scratch and drive me completely mad. Oh, I was very difficult to deal with. I'm over it now, until I up-level my skills to the next thing, which will be engraving and stone setting and learning how to, set gems and then I'll probably be a pain in everyone's ass again. But only if you interrupt me. Anyway, I get how God might have not wanted to be disturbed right in that moment. Under his hands lay the first curlew, and he was trying to adjust its voice box so the song would go up at the end. Sparrow scraped his clawing foot on the floor and coughed. But again he shouted, "Hello, God! It's me, your old sparrow!" God uttered a cry and jerked his hands up as if his fingers had been stung. Then he grabbed his hair in his fist. "No!" he roared. "Oh no!" Sparrow coughed and again shouted, "God!" God turned sharply and glared at him. As you do. Like I get it. "You!" he suddenly bellowed. "You made me do it. I thought I was hearing voices, but it was you. I've snapped it. Now it will never be right. Oh no." And he turned back to peer into the throat of Curlew. "God," shouted Sparrow again, "I've come. What do you want?" God was glaring at him angrily. Sparrow took a deep breath. "Well, God, we're only sparrows, I know, but my wife and I would like a nestling, or 2, or even 3, if it's possible, because—" "Go away!" shouted God. "Not today. Some other time. Sparrows! I can't think about sparrows. I'm on curlews, and sanderlings are coming up any minute. Go away." And he bent low over the curlew with the damaged voice box. Sparrow didn't move. He didn't know what to do. If he went home, what would his wife feel? At the same time, he didn't dare to ask God again. "I'll stand here," he thought, "until he's finished, however long that may be." But at that very moment, a rushing wall of twigs hit him. God's mother was tidying, and her broom swept Sparrow straight out through the doorway. He flew down and landed on a rock, blinking the dust out of his eyes. What now? Well, maybe he would wait here. One thing was sure, he wasn't going to give up till God had listened to him in a patient, thoughtful way. A curlew swooped out of the workshop and then climbed away. Its wobbling, thin, whistling cry trailed away downward at the end, broken. Sparrow sat on through that day. He watched sanderlings fling out of God's workshop in 2s, followed by golden plover, followed by snipe, then a gannet with funny, stiff-looking wings like boards and horrible pale little eyes at the corner of its mouth. What? Corners of its mouth. The eye pupils were tiny as pinpricks. The world was filling up with birds. Already the motes tossing in clouds from hill to hill over the valleys were birds. The deep throbbing and thrilling voice of the forests was actually birds. The lakes were sprinkled and dimpled with birds. The edge of the sea, where the breakers tore into blowing tatters, was a lifting and falling commotion of birds. And high above, suspended from the blue, the slow, dark, circling crosses were birds. And still God went on creating more and more and more. He had a passion for birds. Then, towards the evening, as the sun lowered its red ball towards the cold western sea, God came out onto his veranda at the top of his ladder and held up his hands, cupped together. Sparrow had been dozing, but now he woke with a jerk and watched closely. What was God up to? God threw up his hands gently and opened them. A peculiar black shape whizzed out of them. Sparrow blinked. He thought God had thrown a boomerang at him. It seemed to be black spinning blades going at terrific speed, and it dived straight down at Sparrow. Then it whacked past his head and shot up into the sky, just like a boomerang. But it wasn't a boomerang. It was a real bird. God stood laughing softly with joy as the bird spun away into the world. Sparrow could see he was almost weeping. His eyes were moist, as if he could hardly believe what he saw. "I did it!" cried God. He looked down at Sparrow and pointed at the vanishing marvel. "I did it! I made us swift." Now, thought Sparrow, now is my moment. He's in a joyful mood. He's just brought off a winner. He'll be feeling easy-going and generous. I'll land on his shoulder and nibble his ear and make my request. And he flew up off the